November 12, 1996. The sky above Delhi, India. Two massive commercial airliners, a Saudi Arabian Boeing 747 and a Kazakhstan Airlines Ilyushin IL-76, were on a collision course. At 6:40 p.m., over the small town of Charkhi Dadri, two tiny blips on a radar screen merged into one, then vanished. What followed was the world's deadliest mid-air collision. 349 lives extinguished in an instant. A silent field in Haryana transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. Wreckage, fire, and the silent, tragic remains of hopeful passengers. This wasn't a failure of technology. It was a devastating chain reaction of human errors, cultural misunderstanding, and systemic flaws. For just 4 seconds, two planes shared the same piece of sky, and for 349 souls, the world ended. How did an aviation tragedy of this scale happen in an era of clear safety standards? Who was to blame? And what did the terrifying last words recorded in the cockpit reveal? This is the story of the Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision and how it forever changed the way the world flies. It was 6:30 p.m. at Indira Gandhi International Airport, runway 27. Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight SVA 763, a Boeing 747, was preparing for takeoff. Its journey, Delhi to Tehran, then on to Jeddah. On board were 312 people, 289 passengers and 23 crew members. Most were Indian blue-collar workers, returning to their jobs in Saudi Arabia after a holiday. The cockpit was commanded by Captain Khalid Al-Shubaili, a veteran with 10,000 hours of flying experience. At the exact same time, preparing to land in Delhi, was Kazakhstan Airlines Flight KZA 1907, an Ilyushin Il-76. It had departed from Shymkent Airport. This was an older Soviet-era cargo plane, carrying 37 people, mostly Kazakhstani and Russian traders. Its commander, Captain Alexander Cherepnov, had 9,239 hours of experience. The IL-76 came from a post-Soviet system where, frankly, aircraft maintenance and crew discipline were often lax. Yet, low fares meant people still boarded these planes. Meanwhile, India's air traffic was under immense pressure. Following economic liberalization, the new open skies policy had flooded Indian airspace with private operators, significantly increasing traffic. The responsibility for managing this chaos rested squarely on V.K. Dutta in the Delhi Air Traffic Control AT Tower, a man with 16 years of experience. Crucially, in 1996, most flights lacked a traffic collision avoidance system, TCES, which automatically prevents collisions. Dutta's job was manual. He had to maintain a minimum separation of 1,000 feet between aircraft using only a primary radar. This old radar only showed planes as small dots. It did not display their altitude or precise speed. Dutta had to rely entirely on the pilot's oral reports, writing every update down by hand. The physical airspace itself was a problem. Delhi relied on a single, narrow air corridor for both arrivals and departures. This corridor, designed for traffic management, became a deadly bottleneck during peak hours. At 6:33 p.m., Saudi Flight SVA 763 smoothly took off. Captain Khalid Al-Shubaili was calm. The plane quickly reached 14,000 feet. The pilot requested permission to climb higher, but ATC controller V.K. Dutta, mindful of the surrounding traffic, instructed the Saudi flight to maintain 14,000 feet. The Saudi pilot confirmed immediately. Everything seemed normal. Simultaneously, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight KZA 1907 was approaching Delhi. Dutta cleared this plane to descend to 15,000 feet. This meant a safe 1,000-foot vertical separation was established. The Kazakh plane was about 46 miles from Delhi. Dutta sent a crucial traffic message. In the next 5 miles, they would cross a Saudi Boeing 747, 10 miles away, 1,000 feet below them. Dutta gave all necessary information and went back to his routine. But a moment later, as V.K. Dutta's eyes swept across the radar screen, his blood ran cold. The two blips representing the IL-76 and the Boeing 747 were closing in on each other at an alarming rate. Before he could even radio a warning, the two dots merged into a single point, and then an empty punch appeared on the screen. He tried to contact both planes. Silence. At 6:40 p.m., the unthinkable happened. High above Charkhi Dadri, the Kazakh IL-76's left wing and vertical stabilizer slammed into the Saudi Boeing 747's left wing. The impact shattered the Boeing's left engine and ripped away a large section of its wing. The IL-76 also suffered massive damage, losing its own left wingtip and tail stabilizer. Both aircraft were now uncontrollable. The final, chilling screams of the Saudi crew were recorded on the cockpit voice recorder, CVR. "We are hit! We are hit!" The Boeing 747 spun violently, falling towards the ground. The Kazakh IL-76, crippled, plunged a few kilometers away in the same area. Within seconds, both massive jets hit the fields of Haryana, erupting into balls of fire. With over 100,000 liters of fuel on board the Boeing, the scene was catastrophic. All 349 people on board both flights perished. The silent fields of Charkhi Dadri were now covered in scorched rubble, torn metal, and unspeakable tragedy. The event was witnessed by Captain Timothy Place of a U.S. Air Force plane passing nearby. He first saw an orange cloud and then two streams of fire falling fast. His radio call confirmed Duta's worst fears. Charkhi Dadri, a small unknown city, was now on the world map for the most horrific reason. The immediate aftermath was chaos. The fire was uncontrollable for hours. Wreckage and human remains were spread over a 10-kilometer area. Officials from Saudi Arabia and Kazakhstan rushed to Delhi. Even amidst the grief, the situation was politicized, with shameful controversies over the cremation or burial of unidentified remains. The investigation was entrusted to KPS Nayar of the DGCA. His first task, recover the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, CVR, and the flight data recorder, FDR. Found after immense effort, they were the key to understanding the cause. Due to India's lack of advanced decoding technology, the black boxes were sent abroad, the Saudi box to Farnborough, England, and the Kazakh box to Moscow, Russia. The initial suspicion fell on air traffic controller VK Duta, but when the CVR and FDR data returned, the picture became crystal clear. VK Duta was innocent. He had given the correct instructions to both planes. The Saudi Boeing 747 was also following all instructions, maintaining 14,000 feet. The fault lay entirely with the Kazakh flight KZA 1907. The investigation found that the IL-76, cleared to stay at 15,000 feet, was in fact descending rapidly and was already at 14,500 feet at the moment of impact. The root cause was a confluence of factors, a classic illustration of the Swiss cheese theory. Just 4 seconds before the collision, the radio operator, Igor Rep, realized the horrifying mistake and screamed, "Take it to 15,000 feet!" It was too late. He saw their altimeter reading 14,000 feet, the exact altitude of the Saudi plane. They had crossed the final hole of the Swiss cheese. In the Saudi cockpit, the last sounds recorded were not screams, but the crew reciting Islamic prayer. Both pilots had seen the oncoming plane, but neither had time. The Charkhi Dadri disaster became a lesson carved in tragedy. It exposed every single vulnerability in India's aviation system, and indeed, the global one. The world's deadliest mid-air collision spurred sweeping reforms.